What would you do if God asked you to marry someone he told you would break your heart? Hosea obeyed. He married Gomer. He loved her, and God told him to name their children Not Loved and Not My People every single day. Calling his own children by name was an act of prophecy and pain. Then Gomer left. She chased other lovers. She abandoned her family. And she didn't just fall. She fell all the way down until she was standing on a slave block, waiting to be sold like property.
Go. Show your love to your wife again, though she is loved by another and is an adulteress. Love her as the Lord loves Israel.
So Hosea went. He scraped together everything he had, silver and grain, and bought his own wife back. The price came to 30 shekels. Centuries later, another man would be betrayed for the exact same amount. But this story doesn't end at the slave market. God spoke over those children and changed their names. Not loved became loved. Not my people became my people. And then God said something that will stay with you long after this video ends. Stay with us until the end. Because this is not just an ancient story. It's the Christ story before Christ, and it will change the way you understand God's heart for you. If this channel has blessed you, subscribe to ARC Films. It means the world to us. Let's begin. The northern kingdom of Israel had never looked more prosperous. Under King Jeroboam II, the borders expanded and the markets overflowed. But beneath the wealth, the nation was rotting from within. The people had not abandoned God entirely. That would have been too honest. Instead, they worshipped him alongside Baal, the Canaanite fertility god. They burned incense on the hilltops and bowed before carved images, then returned to their sanctuaries as if nothing had changed. In their minds, devotion to God was just one option among many. It was into this fractured world that God spoke to a young prophet named Hosea, son of Beeri.
Go. Marry a promiscuous woman and have children with her. For like an adulterous wife, my people are guilty of unfaithfulness to me.
In the ancient world, the bond between God and Israel was not described as a contract or an alliance. It was described as a marriage. God was the husband, Israel was the bride, and Israel had been unfaithful. So when God told Hosea to marry a promiscuous woman, he was not using marriage as an illustration. He was asking Hosea to live the message, to feel in his own home what God felt toward his people. In Israel, a prophet's life was his message. Where he went, what he wore, who he married, all of it spoke. God was not simply giving Hosea a companion. He was giving him a burden.
Her name is Gomer, daughter of Diblaim. Take her as your wife.
He obeyed. He entered the covenant of marriage, choosing to love her fully, knowing the road God had laid before him. He did not yet know what that love would cost him. The first months of marriage were better than either of them expected. Gomer settled into the rhythm of a prophet's household. Hosea provided. Gomer received. For a season, their home felt like any other. Bread on the table, quiet evenings.
You are safe here, Gomer. Whatever came before, this is your home now.
Then she conceived and bore him a son. In Israel, a child's name was not a preference. It was a declaration that shaped how the world saw that child and that family. God told Hosea what to name this boy.
Call him Jezreel, for soon I will punish the house of Jehu for the blood that was shed at Jezreel, and I will bring the kingdom of Israel to an end.
Jezreel was the name of a valley, and a dark chapter in Israel's history. Long ago, King Ahab and his wife Jezebel had led the nation deep into the worship of Baal. God sent a man named Jehu to remove them and end their wickedness. But Jehu didn't stop there. He killed far more people than God ever asked him to, and took the throne for himself. That throne had been passed down through his family ever since, all the way to the current king, Jeroboam II. Every time Hosea called his son's name, he would be pronouncing judgment over his own nation. After Jezreel was born, something changed in Gomer. She grew restless, pulling away from the life Hosea had built for them. Gomer had begun to stray. Then she conceived again and bore a daughter. But the language of Scripture changes here. With her first son, Gomer bore the child to Hosea. This time, it simply says she bore a daughter. Hosea's name is absent. The change leaves a question hanging in the air. God told Hosea what to name her.
Call her Lo-Ruhamah, for I will no longer show love to the house of Israel, and I will no longer forgive them.
Lo-Ruhamah meant not loved. Every time Hosea spoke his daughter's name at the table, in the doorway, calling her in from the fields, he would be saying, "Not loved," out loud. Then Gomer conceived once more and bore a son. Again, Scripture does not connect the child to Hosea.
Call him Lo-Ami, for you are not my people, and I am not your God.
Lo-Ami meant not my people. In the personal sense, the name could also mean not my child. 3 children now lived in Hosea's house. Hosea fed them, held them, and raised them as his own, regardless of the questions that surrounded their birth. And Gomer, with each passing season, grew more distant. In ancient Israel, a husband provided for his household. The grain, the wool, the linen, the olive oil, these came through him. They were not just goods. They were signs of a covenant being honored. For a wife to say another man gave her these things was more than ingratitude. It was a rejection of the marriage itself. And that is exactly what Gomer did. She went after other men openly, believing they were the ones giving her the bread, the water, the wool, the linen. She did not see, or did not care, that everything she enjoyed still flowed from Hosea's hand, and ultimately from God's. Hosea had no more words for Gomer. She would not listen. His pleas could not reach her. And this was not only Hosea's pain, it was God's. Across the nation, Israel worshipped Baal and credited him for the rain, the harvest, the abundance, when all of it came from God alone. What Gomer was doing to Hosea, Israel was doing to God. But God did not stand by and watch. In the hill country of Israel, shepherds used thorn bushes to build barriers around their flocks at night. The thorns kept the sheep from wandering into danger. It was not cruelty, it was protection. The sheep did not understand it, but the shepherd knew what waited for them in the dark. God would do the same with Gomer.
I will block her path with thorn bushes. I will wall her in so she cannot find her way. She will chase after her lovers, but not catch them. She will look for them, but not find them.
And for a moment, it seemed to work. The life she chased started slipping through her fingers. The men she sought became harder to find.
I will go back to my heft and Ed at first, for then I was better off than now.
She came back, but not because she loved Hosea, not because she missed her children. She came back because the alternative had stopped working. It was survival, not repentance. Hosea received her, but the return did not last. Whatever had drawn her away before drew her away again. And this time, when Gomer left, she did not come back. But God was not speaking only about her. Across the nation, Israel enjoyed the abundance of the land, the grain, the wine, the vines, the fig trees, and credited Baal for all of it. They did not acknowledge that God was the one providing, so God would take it back.
I will take back my grain and my new wine. I will remove the wool and linen I gave her. I will ruin the vines and the fig trees she said her lovers gave her. None of her lovers will rescue her from my hand.
And Gomer's life was following the same path. The lovers who once wanted her would not keep her forever. What they promised, they could not sustain. She was losing everything. Slowly, quietly, with no one to rescue her either. God was stripping away every false comfort the nation clung to until there was nothing left between his people and the truth. Then, in the middle of all this loss, God spoke again, and what he said did not sound like judgment at all.
I will allure her. I will lead her into the wilderness and speak tenderly to her. There I will give her back her vineyards and turn the valley of trouble into a door of hope.
Even while everything was being stripped away, God was already planning how to bring her back. With Gomer gone, Hosea's house became a place of silence where a family used to be. In ancient Israel, a home without a mother was more than an emotional loss. The wife managed the household, the food, the clothing, the daily rhythm of life. Without her, everything fell to Hosea alone. The children were young. They did not understand why their mother had left or where she had gone.
Where is our mother? When is she coming back?
Hosea had no answer, not one that would make sense to them, and not one that made sense to him either. And then there were their names. Every time he called them, he heard the weight of what God had spoken over them. Lo Ruhamah, not loved. Lo Ami, not my people. These were not just names, they were prophecies. And every time Hosea spoke them in his own home, the words cut deeper. He kept going. He served God. He raised his children, but the ache did not leave. Then God spoke, not as a judge handing down a sentence, but as someone who understood that ache from the inside.
How can I give you up? How can I hand you over? My heart is changed within me. All my compassion is aroused.
Hosea's pain was a mirror of God's own heart. Then the news came. Gomer, the woman who had walked out of Hosea's home freely by her own choice, had lost everything. The lovers who once wanted her had discarded her. She had fallen into debt, then into servitude, and now she had fallen further still. In ancient Israel, slavery was the bottom. It was where you ended up when every other option had been exhausted. A person could be sold to pay off a debt they could not repay. Once that happened, you were property. You were examined, appraised, and sold to whoever was willing to pay. That is where Gomer was now. She now stood with nothing, no name, no rights, no dignity, waiting to be bought. And this is where God spoke to Hosea a second time.
Go, show your love to your wife again, though she is loved by another and is an adulteress. Love her as the Lord loves Israel, though they turn to other gods.
Not forgive her from a distance, not pray for her quietly. Go to her, show your love, buy her back, bring her home. After everything she had done, after every departure, every betrayal, every silence, God looked at Hosea and said, "Again." Hosea went. He did not send a servant. He went himself. In ancient Israel, slaves were sold in public. The person being sold stood and waited for someone to claim them. No different from livestock. They had no voice, no choice. Hosea arrived and found her. Whatever Gomer had once been, the woman he married, the mother of his children, was hard to see now. The years of wandering, the betrayals, the fall into bondage had left their mark. She stood among the other slaves with nothing, no one coming for her, except him. Hosea paid 15 shekels of silver and a homer and a half of barley. Silver and grain scraped together. He did not have enough silver, so he brought what he could in grain to cover the rest. Everything he had. The total came to roughly 30 shekels, the value placed on a slave under the law of Moses. Centuries later, another man would be betrayed for the exact same price. Hosea paid. Gomer was his. She looked up and saw the face of the man she had abandoned. She expected anger. She expected judgment.
You are to stay with me. You will not go back to that life, and I will wait for you.
She did not deserve this, and she knew it. But he was there. He took her hand, and he led her home. The door opened. Gomer stepped inside the house she had left. He did not rush to restore what had been broken.
You are to live with me many days. You must not be with another man, and I will be faithful to you. We will start again ploveth, but slowly.
In ancient Israel, when a broken marriage was restored, there was often a period of separation within the same household. The husband and wife lived under the same roof, but did not resume intimacy. It was not punishment. It was protection. Space for trust to be rebuilt before the weight of a full marriage was placed on them again. The children saw their mother return. This was the wilderness God had promised. The fall, the slave market, the walk home, the slow rebuilding. All of it was God leading her through the wilderness so he could speak tenderly to her again. The valley of trouble had become a door of hope. And as Hosea looked at his family, broken, scarred, but together again under one roof, God began to speak, not just over this household, but through it. Two of the children who had carried names of judgment would carry them no longer. Lo Ruhamah, not loved, would become Ruhamah, loved. Lo Ami, not my people, would become Ami, my people. God himself spoke the change over them.
I will show mercy to the one I called, not loved. I will say to those I once called, not my people, you are my people. And they will answer, you are my God. She will no longer call me her master. She will call me her husband. In
Hebrew, the word for master was Baal. The the same name as the false god Israel had been chasing. Every time the people called on God, they were putting Baal's name on him. That was what God was rejecting. Not because Gomer deserved to be brought home. She did not. Not because Israel earned the right to be restored. They had not. God's love is not a reward for the faithful. It is a rescue for the fallen. It does not wait for people to become worthy. It goes to the place where they are most broken, pays the full price, and says, "You are mine, and I want you back." That is the love Hosea showed Gomer at the slave market. And that is the love God has shown the world ever since. But the nation did not return to God the way Gomer returned to Hosea. And so the judgment Hosea had been warning about finally came.
The Israelites will live many days without king or prince, without sacrifice or sacred stone, without ephod or idol.
Everything would be stripped away. Their throne, their priesthood, their altars, and even the idols they had worshipped. And within Hosea's own lifetime it began. Shalmaneser V, king of Assyria, marched against the northern kingdom and laid siege to its capital, Samaria. For 3 years, the city held out. Then it fell. The people of Israel were taken from their land and scattered across the cities of the Assyrian Empire. The kingdom that had stood for over 200 years was gone. The 10 tribes of the north never returned. Everything Hosea had lived, the unfaithful wife, the children of judgment, the heartbreak of loving someone who kept walking away, had been an announcement of what was coming, and now it had come. Hosea went to the slave market, paid the price, and brought Gomer home. But no one came for Israel. No one paid the price. The nation that had played the harlot with other gods was left in exile. But judgment was not God's final word over his people. There was still one child whose name had not yet been redeemed. Jezreel, the firstborn, whose name had warned of bloodshed and the end of a kingdom. But Jezreel means God sows. The same God who had let his people be torn from their land spoke of a day when he would plant them back. The grain, the wine, the oil that he had taken away, he would one day give them back. What God had stripped in judgment, he would one day rebuild in mercy.
Afterward, the Israelites will return and seek the Lord their God. They will come trembling to the Lord and to his blessings in the last days.
In the last days, the 10 tribes are still scattered. The planting has not yet come, but the promise still stands. And so does the God who made it. And so ends the story of Hosea and Gomer, a prophet who loved a woman who kept walking away, and a God who refused to let that be the end. From Gomer, we learn what happens when we abandon what God has placed in our home to chase what the world promises. She had a husband who provided for her and children who needed her. She left it all, and the world she ran toward did not set her free. It enslaved her. That is what happens when we trade what God has given us for what the world advertises. From Hosea, we learn how God loves us. When Gomer was standing on a slave block with nothing, Hosea did not love her from a distance. He showed up himself. He scraped together everything he had, silver and grain, and paid the full price to bring her home. Then he looked at the woman who had abandoned him and said, "You are to live with me. You must not go back to that life, and I will be faithful to you." That is a mirror of God's love. A love that comes to where we are most broken and pays what we could never pay ourselves. And in this story, God makes something breathtaking clear. He does not want to be our master. He wants to be our husband. His own words. She will no longer call me her master. She will call me her husband. He wants an intimate relationship with his people. Not distance, not fearful obedience, but closeness. And the proof is in the names. 2 children carried names of judgment their entire lives. Not loved and not my people. But God himself changed those names. Not loved became loved. Not my people became my people. That is what the love of God does. It takes the identity you thought was permanent and rewrites it. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to ARC Films and turn on notifications so you never miss a story. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it and leave a like. It helps more people find these stories. Tell us in the comments, which Bible story should we cover next? Thank you for watching.